Hey everybody. Um, we're working on a new open, so there you go. What can I say? Most important thing is that Matt and I are here, and we're ready to talk football. And Matthew, tonight, Ole Miss takes on uh, a Miami team that seems to be destined for a playoff final. Perhaps I don't know. I could be wrong, but they just look like the team of destiny at this point.
It's really a battle of the underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss was an underdog against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Obviously, Miami was an underdog against Ohio State in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Miami's a team. I think I'm going to go into this game tonight with a similar thought process or belief that I did going into the Miami and Ohio State game. I'm not saying that Ole Miss can't beat Miami, but
Mm-hmm.
they're going to have to show it to me that they can. It was the same way. It wasn't that I didn't think Miami couldn't beat Ohio State. I thought they had some
Mm-hmm.
things that actually trended in their favor in terms of the line of scrimmage, but I needed to see it for it to happen. The same is going to go here for Ole Miss, and now Ole Miss is missing some assistants. Like some of these guys, Joe Cox is not going to be there. He's their tight ends coach, and they're missing one other. I forget who he is,
Mm-hmm.
which one it is, but
I think he's a special teams guy.
I thought it was the receivers coach.
Maybe.
But Pete Golding said they knew ahead of time these guys weren't going to be
Mm-hmm.
there. That's fine and dandy, but still going through a week because it was still a regular week in terms of timing, in terms of their prep time. Going through a week without two assistants, what does that mean? Not only that, but now you've got some assistants that have been on campus at LSU instead of in Oxford, Mississippi, like they were
Right.
previously for the Sugar Bowl and for the first round playoff game. How much does that make an impact? Does it make an impact at all? I don't know. It's something that I can't quantify. Nobody can really. It can impact it, but it's going to start and end at that line of scrimmage. And I think Miami's just so physically superior, really, to honestly anybody else left in this playoff bracket. That
Mhm.
includes Indiana and Oregon as well. And I'm not saying that they're just going to run away with it, but just in terms of what you look like when you get off the bus, Miami is the best looking team on both
Mhm.
lines of scrimmage left in this playoff.
Let me ask you a question. This keeps popping up. You have mentioned it numerous times,
Hmm.
and I just want people to understand this clip part right here about the Ole Miss Miami game tonight. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 100 times, and that is, well, you know, the their the defense of Georgia is a fantastic defense, and Ole Miss scored, on them three, beat them. Well, what was it? They scored 35 points on them twice, or 30
Yeah.
plus points on them twice.
Hmm.
Now you've said to me and to our viewers and listeners, this isn't Kirby Smart's best defense, and it's far from it. And perhaps to me, uh, just like you said, show it to me. I want to see somebody show me that Miami's defense is as good as it's shown up.
Yeah, I think you could definitely go the other way on that for Miami as well.
Mhm.
You can question who they've played, but at a certain
Yeah.
point, if we just sit here and call everybody else frauds, then
Mhm.
who beat who, and is the national champion
Right.
really the national champion, or does everybody just suck?
Right.
Um, so there is that aspect of it. It wasn't Kirby Smart's best defense, but it's a defense that was greatly improved throughout the season.
Mhm.
I'm more impressed by the performance that Ole Miss put on in the Sugar Bowl than I would have been during their performance in Athens earlier in the year against that defense, because it did get better. Specifically along the line of scrimmage, they got better. But it still must be noted that Gabe Harris, really a big piece to the improvement of that defense
Mhm.
and the improvement of that pass rush for Georgia throughout the year, was missing in the Sugar Bowl. He was not there.
Right.
Q Johnson filled his hole, and he didn't do so with he didn't do a very good job of filling the hole. Just being quite frank and honest with you. Um, so that was something that was missing from that Georgia defense. But again, there's no excuses when it comes to that. It's more of Ole Miss is going to have to continue to prove themselves to me. I think I know what they are. I don't know that for certain, because I think there's definitely a game script in here where Miami just goes out and they are just physically the better team and they are dominant tonight. there's also a game script where Trinidad Chambliss does a lot of what he did in that Sugar Bowl, and they keep this thing close. But I can tell you, I don't think there's a script out there or way this thing goes where Ole Miss blows Miami out.
No, I don't think there's a script that says Miami blows them out. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the key, and this is just my personal thought, my key to this, Trinidad Chambliss, of course, will play a major role in it. But to me, can Ole Miss with Kewan Lacey run on Miami? That, to me, if they can do that, and that frees up, Trinidad Chambliss to do some RPO passing and running himself, that could cause some problems. So to me, the key tonight, I should say, is Kewan Lacey. If he can run against the Miami defense, then that's going to open up a lot of possibilities for Ole Miss.
Yeah, it is. I'm going back. I don't think it's particularly close. I think Miami's lines of scrimmage are better than Georgia's lines of scrimmage. Both of them are, with or without injuries, because Georgia had a key one on both lines of scrimmage there. I think Miami is going to be able to run the football no problem. In the first half of that game, once Georgia kind of remembered that they could run the football and they had Nate Frazier was extremely effective against that Ole Miss defense. They were extremely effective in the first round. I'm going to question the physicality until Ole Miss proves me wrong. Maybe they get into a game where they kind of take that line of scrimmage physicality out. If they're moving fast, they're going up and down the football field, then yeah, you take that line of scrimmage out. But if you slow this thing down and it turns into that game, that's ever more going to shift in the favor of Miami, because it's more than just their D line. Like their secondary in Miami is very good as well. Keontae Scott obviously had that big pick six for them, but that it spans without him. Their DBs and safeties both very, very good on units. And Ole Miss's DBs are going to have to tackle. That's a very big piece. They didn't necessarily always do a terrific job against Zachariah Branch in the Sugar Bowl. They let him get away from him a couple times. And Malachi Toney is as good, maybe better than Zachariah Branch is when it comes to yards after the catch and making something out of nothing on some of those pop screens. And when they make their hay like that, that's going to open things up for Carson Beck to the second level as well.
I'm also interested, and in the game we watched the other night for Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss, there were some plays. Specifically, I remember the one where it looked like he ran from the 20-yard line back to the 2-yard line, then back to the 5-yard line and threw a pass and completed it to keep the game going. He's an elusive guy, and Georgia, to their credit, Georgia bottled him up a couple of times, and they actually sacked him a few times. But it's gonna be fun to watch that part of it. Here's the thing that and Carson Beck, okay? I think Carson Beck right now understands that his role with this Miami team is to be, for lack of a better way of putting it, a game manager. You're not gonna. They're not. I think the smartest thing Cristobal has done this year on offense is said, look, you don't have to go out there and win the game for us. Just don't make mistakes. If you can manage the game, we'll take care of it, because he's basically, I think that Miami's theory of the case has always been, if you can score 21 points, we'll win the game for you.
Yeah, I think if Miami wins a national title, not just a national title, but this game, it's because they're playing a style, and it's going to look very similar to that Nick Saban team in 2012. Like that was a team that was built on the lines of scrimmage. Those early Saban teams were, where we're going to run the football. We're going to limit, what our quarterback does, because that's what they've been doing with Carson Beck. They've really kind of limited what he's done. They've relied on that offensive line and that running game, and they've relied on that defense to just say, hey, just don't go give it to them. Like, as long as we're not throwing picks in plus territory, we're not throwing away opportunities, or we're not giving them plus field position with our turnovers, then we'll be fine. We're fine punting the football. We're going to make you score on this defense. We want to prove that you can do it over and over again with consistency, and that you're not just like, maybe you hit a one-off play that's an explosive touchdown. That's fine. We'll give you that one. That's almost like a solo home run in baseball.
Sure.
If you give up one big explosive play and that leads to a touchdown, it is what it is. It's a one-off result. You're not going to replicate that every single time down the football field, and that's something that Miami will probably be okay with. They're going to out-physical you, and they are going to beat you throughout the 60 minutes. I've talked about the 60 minutes of football and how you don't lose a game by one play. You don't win a game by one play. As you beat it throughout a full 60. That's the way that Miami is going to do it. They are going to grind on you on both of these lines of scrimmage. Something that Miami does a lot better than Georgia did, specifically on defense, is their interior pressure is going to be much different for Trinidad Chambliss. They have much more of a luxury of being able to kind of set Ruben Bain on that edge, both those edges, and just let them kind of rush up field and keep those passing lanes inside, because they know their tackles are going to get good pressure on the interior. And that gives you a much tighter pocket. It kind of restrains Trinidad Chambliss from using his legs as much and being able to create some of those wacky plays we saw in that Sugar Bowl.
One of the other things that Miami's defense does, and we saw this against Ohio State, their secondary and linebackers are violent tacklers. Violent. I mean, I saw more than one, mouth guard go flying out of guys' mouths whenever they got hit. And there were, in that game against Ohio State, some of those wide receivers suddenly got alligator arms because they did not want to reach out there and get plastered by, a defensive back. And one of the things that Mario has preached all year long is violence. Now, obviously, what he means by that is hit hard, hit fair, hit good, but hit. And they've taken that to heart.
Yeah, it's also a case that I'm curious with Ole Miss, because in that Sugar Bowl, it gets overlooked because it ended up not mattering. Their tight ends had a lot of drops over the middle of the field.
That's true.
In that football game. I don't know if that was the moment. I don't know if that was footsteps. I don't know what that was related to. But if it was related to those footsteps and kind of having that in the thought process when you're going across the middle, then that's going to affect them again tonight in the Fiesta Bowl. Is it a mental thing for them? Their tight ends coach is now gone. Joe Cox is now at LSU. He was not in the facility. He's not going through game planning with them this week. That's not something that was happening. So after a shaky week of performances from them in New Orleans, what have they done to get better in preparation for this Fiesta Bowl?
I don't know. I feel bad for the kids, the players. I feel bad. They're, at this point in time, I think you can game plan if the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and head coach are sitting there figuring it out. You can game plan. That's fine, but you still have to play the game. And what we're seeing with Miami right now is, the Mike Tyson theory. Everybody has a plan until you hit them in the mouth, and that's what Miami's doing right now. Is I know, okay, fine, you're Ohio State University, you come here, we're playing against you. Let us hit you in the mouth, and you figure out whether or not that you got a plan again. And Ole Miss is talented, and there's no question about that. So I got to say, it's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm really looking forward to it.
It is. But I still think there's something out there where, what if Ole Miss just can't get it going? Like what if they're not able to recreate that same offensive magic? I know via the metrics that they don't have the defense that stacks up with Miami's offense. Like Miami's offense is going to be able to score on that defense given time. Is Ole Miss going to be able to match that? I'm not saying that they're going to go out there. Like, again, if I was betting on this game, I'd probably take an under. But is Ole Miss going to be able to match the scores of Miami? Is Ole Miss going to be able to score on Miami in total? I think they will. I think they have the right weapons, but nobody on the outside necessarily would. If I'm staring across from Miami and I know the type of front four that we have and the ability to get pressure with just four that we have, those receivers and those tight ends don't scare me all that much downfield.
Yeah. The other thing too, and I think it's something that we need to look at from the Miami side, is they're good with just running and bleeding the clock. I mean, they held the ball it was like Ohio State time of possession between the two was just, wasn't even close. Miami was very pleased, just taking the ball, running it, taking time off the clock, going down to almost 1 second on the play clock and doing it, which limits your possessions. If you're, if they can put a drive together, their drives were, averaging what was it, 450, between 450 and 5.5 minutes. Those are long drives. You get that takes up a chunk of time, and that means that your opponent's going to get the ball less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Ole Miss's game plan, and to their credit, it worked for them in the Sugar Bowl. But you saw it; they were going fast for a reason. Like they wanted to put that Georgia defense kind of in a disadvantaged spot, really test their conditioning. And it paid off for them. There was hands on hips, hands on knees. Like guys were tired; they were subbing out. They were trying to sub out. It was effective for them. They were also perfect in the red zone. They're going to have to keep that stuff up, though. And it also could be that if they go back to that same tempo and that same kind of game style, that Miami does have the physicality where they can just lean on you. And all of a sudden, those quick drives turn into getting your defense back on the field. And now you kind of use it against Ole Miss and really use it against their defense in the same way that they're trying to leverage their offense against yours, your defense.
Okay. Let's go to I'll tell you what, we'll save the predictions till last.
Okay.
Let's move that game tonight, by the way, is on ESPN. It is the Fiesta Bowl. It will be played in that what looks like an airplane hangar out in Glendale, Arizona. Meanwhile, back in Miami, we've got a Oregon team taking on an Indiana team that both teams are, should know each other. They played each other during the regular season. They've seen each other on tape. And I'll be honest, possibly two of the best coaches in the country with Dan Lanning in Oregon and Mr. Cignetti at Indiana. Going to be a fun night for that game on Friday night.
Yeah, this I think I start here with the adage, it's hard to beat a good team twice. Like they've seen each other. They understand what each other wants to do. Is Indiana good enough to beat a good team twice? They've passed every other benchmark up until this point that people really didn't think they could surpass. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see that happen. Oregon's a really good football team, though. The only loss on their schedule is that Indiana loss at home. They dominated Texas Tech in a game that really they honestly didn't feel threatened by that Texas Tech offense at all. I think that may be a result of who Texas Tech had and had not played in terms of that offense and really what it was capable of this year. Their defense is really good. They put up 23 on that defense. Indiana scraped this one out in Eugene earlier this year. I know they won by 10. It was a late score to push that to 10. So there is that aspect of it. I struggle to find an edge. Indiana's favored by 3.5. I don't see that. To be honest with you, I would probably have this game at a pick 'em now that it's on a neutral field. So it's going to be close. It's going to be good. Dante Moore, how good is Dante Moore? Is a big question that I have. I know what Fernando Mendoza is. I know what that Indiana offense is. I know how they operate. I know how they work. What is this Oregon team now that they're back to full health? Like they've gotten healthier. I know it was a favorite talking point when you're talking about the Alabama football team. Oregon's healthy now, though. They were missing a lot of receivers and a lot of weapons throughout the year. That did kind of handicap them in the second half of that season. I think they were after that Indiana matchup, so I'm not asterisking that one. But have they gotten better on offense throughout the year? I don't know. But I will say I think I would lean Oregon here just because it really is hard to beat a good team twice, and that cannot be overstated enough.
Well, and I think the other part of the equation is, and we're both fans of the guy, I think Dan Lanning is the kind of coach who he can take it and start to dissect, okay, this is where we screwed up. Which is not to say Curt Cignetti is not capable of that. He's certainly proved a lot. But I like the fact that Oregon has been there and done that. And I do think that Oregon has kind of a chip on their shoulder that they feel, you know. And by the way, I was 900 miles, well, 600 miles off. I said the game is in Miami. No, the championship game's in Miami. The game tomorrow night will be at the Chick-fil-A Bowl in a place you're familiar with, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. So that's where that's going to be. But yeah, I think the Oregon. I just think Dan is going to be equal to the task, and I do think that they have the athletes to keep up with a very good Indiana team. There's no question that Indiana is a fine team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. This one, I think it's really gonna come down to the bounce of ball, like who gets the pick, who puts the ball on the turf. I don't know, but another interesting factor, because we've made a lot, or at least the media itself has made a lot to do about these Ole Miss assistants, and really a lot of that offensive coaching staff, pretty much the entire offensive coaching staff, will be heading to LSU once their season concludes.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot has been made about the fact that Oregon's offensive coordinator Will Stein is now the head coach of Kentucky, and give him credit where it's due. Kentucky's done a pretty good job in the portal up until this point. And their defensive coordinator, Tosh Lupoy, is now the head coach at Cal. They've been handling double duty this entire week. Like, this has been probably one of the most hectic weeks of their entire lives. Game planning for Indiana. Oh, by the way, you also have to go recruit the portal for the school you're going to be at, because you don't want to stink next year, because that's your butt in the hot seat then.
Right. Gets there quick.
Yeah. So how does that double duty affect them? Because neither of Indiana's coordinators have that on their plate. None of Indiana's coaches have that on their plate, to my knowledge.
No, they're all good.
So they are able to be a little bit more focused on the task at hand. And again, the way they prepare and the way they game plan, Curt Cignetti and his staff, it's the best in the country up until this point. Like, it absolutely, no doubt about it, they are currently the best staff in the country right now.
Okay. Here's a question for you. Can Dante Moore Dante Moore wants to go to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to show that you're a first-round draft choice, and there aren't that many good quarterbacks to be first-round draft choice in this group, can Dante Moore have a Bo Nix kind of night?
I struggle.
And that's a tough one to answer. I understand that, but
yeah, I struggle with that, because when I think of Bo Nix and his time at Oregon, they were really good. They won a lot of football games, but the lasting memory I have is his inability to get it done at the final second. He did not beat Washington twice in his final year at Oregon. That was an Oregon team that was favored in both those games by about 7 points, I believe.
Yeah.
Back in 2023. So that was a missed opportunity for him. This game in Friday night, maybe the battle for the number 1 overall pick. The Raiders are going to be watching this one very, very closely. So there is that aspect of it. I don't know. I really don't know. I think I like Fernando Mendoza more as a quarterback. I think he's a better decision maker. I think he understands his offense a little better. And that's not to take away from Dante Moore, but when you look at it from a draft perspective, Fernando Mendoza feels like the more NFL-ready quarterback right now. Dante Moore, he has all the tools, all the traits. You just haven't really seen him put it together in the same way that Fernando Mendoza has done up until this point.
Right.
So I think he can.
But he's not a plug and play.
Yeah, I think he can be that guy. But talking about it again, it's you got to show it to me. I just, because I think it, I have nothing to go off of that has proved it to me up until this point. Because they beat Texas Tech. They beat Texas Tech because of that defense, not because of what Dante Moore did on offense.
Sure. All right. Well, let's take our prediction time tonight. We got Miami. We've got Ole Miss. It's going to be a fun game. And you want to go first? Or I'll take it. Whichever. What do you want to do? You want to go first, or you want to wait?
So I've got a want and a belief on this first game.
Go ahead.
I want Ole Miss to win this football game. I want Ole Miss to win this football game, and I want Ole Miss to win a national championship. And the only reason I want that is because I know that's what would hurt Lane Kiffin the most. I know that him leaving and going to LSU was fully a narrative and emotion of, I don't think I can win a national title at Ole Miss. Not only do I not think I can win a national title at Ole Miss, I don't think I can win a national title with this team that is on campus this year. If they did that without that offensive coaching staff fully bought in the same way that a lot of these staffs are able to be done, and that says worlds, and I know it would hurt him the most. With that being said, just pure football and watching it, I picked Miami, and I picked Miami to cover in this game. The line's -3. I think Miami is just so much better physically on the lines of scrimmage than Ole Miss is. And it's not a knock to Ole Miss. It's not saying that Ole Miss can't win the football game. But for my eyes and my money, if I was placing a bet on this game, I'm going Miami. I'd probably go under because I just don't see how Ole Miss matches up for a full 60 minutes on both lines of scrimmage with Miami.
I see this as a 28-14 type game for Miami. However, I share your Schadenfreude situation of wanting to see Ole Miss, come out of this as a winner and win all the way to the title. The gauntlet, though, that they would have to go through is now obviously Miami, this one, and either a very good Oregon or a very good Indiana team, and that's a tough road to hoe. But it would be a fun storybook finish, and it would be great next season when they present the national championship rings. If one of those rings did not go to Baton Rouge to Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at that point, you don't deserve it based off the way you handled things and the way you went about things. Because I do still believe that there was a set of circumstances in a way that Lane Kiffin probably could have gone about that entire situation that may have left him in Ole Miss to coach through this. I think the way that he chose to go about it, though, was the wrong, really visually, like PR wise, wrong as well way to go about it. And it's ultimately what cost him being able to stay and coach through this run for Ole Miss. And it really, really would be sweet, sweet justice and karma if Ole Miss were to win a national title.
I think that Kiffin, if he wanted to, could have stayed, at Ole Miss, made the commitment to LSU, and said, "Look, I can't do any recruiting. I can't do any, any of the work that it's going to take early on. But that doesn't bother me. I've got time to win at Ole Miss. To win at LSU. Right now, I have a chance to win a national championship. And if I'm going to do that at LSU, my proof of concept is proving it here at Ole Miss."
Yeah, I also
had he done that, I would have, said, "Good on you, Lane."
I will say this. I think there is a little bit of credit that's due to Lane Kiffin. I don't think Ole Miss had
a roster together. So yeah, that
not even that. I don't think Ole Miss had a culture really. Like I don't think they had like a true team identity when he was the head coach. When he left them, like stranded them, abandoned them like that. I think it gave them a team identity and a team kind of like a rallying cry. Gave them a more concrete culture and a more concrete vision as a whole and as a unit. These are guys that, you could easily have considered hired guns. Like, yes, they're an extremely talented team. No one's going against that. But it does take a special kind of head coach and somebody who understands the way a football program needs to be run and a special kind of culture builder to be able to turn kids that are really they're jumping in the portal. They're getting high dollars to go to Ole Miss to be able to take these guys and form them into a football team.
And that's something right now that we're seeing. I think LSU's having trouble in getting some of the guys they want. And part of that is the shakiness of not is Lane Kiffin going to be there? He's going to be there. But it's a bit of a flakiness, okay? And look, Lane Kiffin deserves the credit for building that program to where it is today. And I think that the problem that you have, I have, we all have, is just how he went about leaving it. It's not that he shouldn't deserve credit for what he did. It's not that he didn't earn that credit. It's that he abandoned the team at a time when they could have won a national championship if and vindicated his role as a coach that is capable of doing it. Nothing says that he is capable of coaching a national championship team at Ole Miss because he's not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what Lane Kiffin won at Ole Miss was a Sugar Bowl.
Right.
That was it. Last year he had a fantastic football team. Jackson Dart was his quarterback. They were really, really loaded on that defense as well. They didn't win. They fell apart in the last weeks of the season. They lost that third game. They didn't make the playoffs. I think I can tell you that was one of the best, easily one of the top 10 talent rosters in college football last year, possibly a top 5 talent roster in college football last year. That defense was really good. They didn't win with Lane Kiffin as head coach. And what is, quite frankly, the best job that Lane Kiffin did as a head coach anywhere throughout his entire career, like you go through the whole resume, this was his best head coaching job, or at least results-wise, his best head coaching job. And he left it for not to go to Baton Rouge. What credit does that do? He's due some credit for what he's built there, but I think he splits that credit with that Ole Miss collective, with that Grove collective and the NIL money, because he wouldn't be able to attack the transfer portal in the same way if it had not been for that NIL collective. Oh, by the way, they're attacking the transfer portal the exact same way with him in Baton Rouge with that NIL collective. So while there is some credit due, I still think there's a lot of questions about Lane Kiffin as a head coach.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's fair. All right. Moving over to Oregon and Indiana. I think it's going to be a relatively close game again, and I'm going to go Oregon this time. Let's say I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game either. So 21-17, something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 24-21, kind of in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Listen, it feels like the general public has kind of been waiting for this Indiana football team to be discovered as frauds.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there was a lot of people that liked Alabama last week. I did not see it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Did not understand it. Luckily got proven out to be right on that one. This is an Indiana football team. I know I said it leading into it that it is hard to beat a really good team twice. Somebody's going to have to beat Indiana for me to pick against them. Mm-hmm. They are just so technically sound. They do such a good job of their in-week prep for these opponents. Mm-hmm. And I think to a certain respect, it will play a factor that Tosh Lupoy and Will Steiner are headed to other destinations, because you can say and you can be as locked in mentally as you want to. You can say all the right things, and that is all fine and dandy. And I don't think they're lying when they say a word of it. But there is a real factor of these guys do have other Power 4 head coaching jobs that they are leaving for once this season is over.
Right.
They have had to deal with the portal this week. That is real. Regardless of, you can work as hard as you want to, but it plays a factor in this. And Indiana has been the best team in the country this entire year. They have been the best coach team in the country this entire year. They've survived their close calls. They've found ways to win in close games. And until somebody beats them, I'm not going to pick against them. So I think it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 24-21. Indiana wins this thing. I don't care that they played before. It doesn't matter. I know Dan Lanning's a good head coach. But to be honest with you, when he's been on a level playing field in the big games, he hadn't really won them all that much. He had the Big Ten title last year. That was good. He beat Ohio State at home last year. That was good. Those are really two of the only banner wins, and he went and lost in the Rose Bowl last season. So I need to see Dan Lanning win a big game against a team that is evenly matched with him all the way through, because that's what Indiana is. Indiana is the better football team on paper right here. Like I know that the Stars, when you look on it, is going to look better towards Oregon. This is a better coach football team. They execute better, and they will win this football game. I also don't think it's going out on a limb to say that the national championship might be played in Atlanta on Friday night.
That's quite possible as well. I think that, look, I don't disrespect in any way what Indiana's doing. And I think Indiana's going to be there for a long time. I do. Sometimes you have bias, right? And I'm not going to lie. I like Dan and I like Oregon. It's more of a personal thing than it is a rational thing. I respect the hell out of what Curt has done at Indiana and continues to do. He's rolling up portal people, and he isn't even picking up the phone. Mm-hmm. And this is to Indiana, okay? So if Indiana, you got two Cinderella stories, okay? You've got the Ole Miss Cinderella story, and you've got the Indiana Cinderella story. In so much as Indiana hasn't won a national championship in football. Ole Miss hasn't won one since either of us have been alive. So it's been a while for both of those. And so either result would be a very interesting and very good thing for college football. And so we'll see. We will see how it works out. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot to talk about tomorrow from the game tonight, and also a ton of pro football stuff. Real quick, on Harbaugh, we talked about it yesterday. What was going to happen, according to multiple sources and a couple of people I've spoken to as well. John's agent, who is Brian Harlan, Kevin Harlan's brother, has the Buccaneers called and had a conversation with him last night, and he was adamant about John wanting to pick his general manager. And they said, they got Jason Light. Thank you very much. We're fine with them. And they rehired Todd Bowles for that role. By the way, Todd Monken is due to interview with them for the OC position in the next few weeks. Some even may forget that Todd actually worked for the Buccaneers before he went to Georgia. Mm-hmm. So it's not it's not an organization or a group of people that don't know him and he doesn't know them. And I would expect and hope that he would get a few, head coaching opportunities where he could get interviewed for those head coaching jobs. I don't know how much this sloshing Harbaugh situation where John, was supposed to quit, but he wanted to keep, his D coordinator in Monken is going to play into that. I would hope it would not in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask is I think Todd Monken is worthy of a head coaching interview. What are the optics around it? Because I think you ask NFL owners that probably plays a factor. I think there is an optics thing that plays into hiring coaches. Mm-hmm. How does it look hiring an offensive coordinator that, if the reporting is correct, effectively got John Harbaugh fired because he wasn't going to fire Todd Monken as the OC? I don't know. If he did end up as the offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, that's a home run hire there. Mm-hmm. Talk about seemingly saving Todd Bowles' job. Mm-hmm. Talk about how important that offensive coordinator hire has been for him there. Mm-hmm. How important Liam Cohen was while he was there and what he did.
And Dave Canales before that.
Yeah. So they've been very reliant on that offensive coordinator position because Todd Bowles is going to take care of that defense. I think everybody knows that. But that offense, it needs a good leader, and Todd Monken could be it. But it'll be interesting to see. It definitely is. Talked about the potential chain of events that might follow, mm-hmm. and how Tampa Bay was a destination that maybe they fire their head coach now that John Harbaugh is available. Yeah. Miami did it. Mike McDaniel is out as their head coach now, which seems like it makes it all the more likely that John will end up there.
Yeah, and Stephen Ross is the kind of guy who would pull that. If to get John Harbaugh, he would let him pick his own general manager.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
A situation again that I think we need to reiterate. I don't think that's going to happen in Atlanta. Like I don't think Atlanta is going to be a place that says, "Yeah, come pick your GM. We're good to go."
Well, in the pre-show, you brought it up. I mean, if they wouldn't do it for Belichick, why would they do it for Harbaugh?
Mm-hmm.
He's got because Belichick's got 5 more Super Bowl rings than Harbaugh does.
Yeah, a couple more.
So there you go. So that's I don't think that's going to happen. Miami, I do think. I mean, again, whether the fit is good or not, I don't know. That's up to John, the agent, and Stephen Ross. But I definitely think that Stephen would pull that over. It might be the same situation in Vegas. I don't know. I don't know if he'd want to go to Vegas, but if he did, that would they probably would pull the same thing for him as well. Because Mark Davis has been known to, throw the baby out with the bathwater to get what he wants.
Mm-hmm. I think it's definitely a case where it's if you want to pick your own GM and you're John Harbaugh, you have to have some form of leverage. Like there has to be a level of desperation at the place that you're going to that is going to allow you to make that move.
I'm curious if John is going there with the concept of saying that maybe, just maybe, he's bringing Eric DeCosta with him.
That's possible. I feel like
I'm not. That's just speculation on my part. I
Yeah.
mean, I have no reporting to that.
Yeah.
But if John's going to pick his own GM, wouldn't you think that when you sit down and talk to ownership, you would have 3 or 4 names? That these are the 3 or 4 guys, and in theory, why that is.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and the thing that let's go back to Todd for just a moment. Part of the problem in a narrative that came out of Baltimore was that Todd and Lamar didn't get in sync.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, Lamar never has said anything about that.
No.
That was just reporting from reporters in the Baltimore Sun and a few other newspapers. There's never been any, outward argument or even any condemnation of what's gone on by Lamar. But when that stuff gets out in the ether and, you hear, oh, well, both John and Todd didn't get along with Lamar, so Lamar's getting what he wants is a new coach and a new offensive coordinator. Okay. That again, and I feel badly for this, but Monken may suffer with some organizations in the fact that, gosh, well, he's got an MVP quarterback and he can't get along with him. But as I say, I know the Glazers know him, and they would be wise to hire him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to get a job somewhere. He's deserving of getting a job somewhere. It's really just a matter of where, like who lets the optics affect them. To be honest with you, I think Vegas is probably a pretty good place for him. I think that you could have a good continuity and good meshing out there in Vegas. He's got a couple pieces he's out there that are out there that he's familiar with. I think they're going to make an investment on the offensive side of the football this offseason out there in Vegas, coming with probably a quarterback at 1. Maybe they trade back in. They try to find a receiver to pair with Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. And if they do, you would assume they're going to do some pretty significant drafting on that offensive line, probably sign a couple guys as well in free agency.
And
if you're going to make that investment in offense, you would want to hire an offensive-minded head coach.
I was just checking a quick thing on the Monken situation. Monken has had a conversation with the Glazers in the last 24 hours about the job. And Josh Grizzard has been fired. Maybe unfairly. Josh was a quarterback's coach. I don't know what they expected him to do, but anyway, according to at least 4 sources that I'm looking at right now, Todd has spoken with the Glazers and with Jason Light, again, people he's very familiar with.
Mhm.
And they have spoken about him returning to Tampa. Baker Mayfield, for what this is worth, and it actually is worth a lot, uh, says he has nothing but respect for Todd, that he's an amazing offensive coordinator, and it would he would be happy to work with him should that be um, something that should he be hired.
Yeah.
So when you got your quarterback stepping in and and saying, "Hey, look, if you hire this guy, he's cool with me,"
Mhm.
that's that's definitely a plus. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on one of our friends there, Todd Monken, somebody who we hope will land and deserves to land in a place where he's going to be used properly and respected.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never want that collateral damage to land on you.
Yeah. What I will say is there's a lot of people in Athens, Georgia that would love, clamoring really to have him back. And
The Bobo boys, huh? They're
yeah,
not happy about
yeah.
this.
I would like to preface that by saying I'm saying that no one inside the building are those
Right.
people necessarily, but people on the outside, particularly the Georgia fan base as a whole. I think they would love to have him back.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. Any final thoughts before we get out of here on a Thursday, where football on Thursday night is not NFL this week? It is a college football playoff game.
Yeah, I still don't like the fact that this game's being played on a Thursday night.
Me too.
I don't get it. I think I mean I know it doesn't work out in terms of like people being off work and stuff like
Mhm.
that, but stacking them on Friday I still like better. I know the NFL's Super Wild Card weekends here. That's why they don't play them on a Saturday. I still
Mhm.
love that. This is going to be. I think these are two really good games that we're set up for, though.
Mhm.
It's going to be a really good product. It's going to be interesting, though. I'm very interested to see how Ole Miss looks. Is there an impact made by those position coaches missing?
Mhm.
Is there an impact made by the fact that some of those position coaches were in Baton Rouge this past week
Mhm.
working the portal? And the same goes for Oregon tomorrow. Is how much of an impact is made by Tosh Lupoy and Will Stein being
Mhm.
bound for other destinations after this season is over? I don't know, but I do think I know what I've got in Miami, and I think it's going to be a really good game. But boy, I'm looking forward to seeing Ruben Bain play football again tonight.
Well, we're gonna. I'm kind of excited to see how Mr. Chambliss does against the Miami defense. I think that'll be a fun. He's fun to watch. I got to admit. I mean, he's a video game.
Mhm.
He is. He's a treat to watch. I can imagine he's not a treat for defenses to watch, but it's definitely a treat for those of us who are fans of that. So we'll enjoy it tonight, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So everybody have a great day. We appreciate you being with us, and we'll see you tomorrow. That's what you call